mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, well, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage. The 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Yo. Welcome to another episode of Chill Will Radio. I'm back, man. Back with episode 8. Shit. 8? Yeah, 8. So I've been doing this for, I guess, 2 months. 8 episode per week. Yeah, 2 months. Welcome to Chill Will Radio, man. Thank you for everyone that's listening for right now. As you get in, please just let me know that you're there. Say hi, say what's up, say what's the deal, whatever you please. You know, I always want to acknowledge anyone that's listening. So thank you for all of those that's listening from the beginning. Thank you for all of those that's going to come in and listen towards the middle. And thank you for those individuals who won't be listening at all because they haven't caught on to it yet. You will catch on to it eventually if you haven't caught on to it now. So, as always, man, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Chill Will Radio. This episode today, for me, is going to be very, very exciting. It's a topic that's always coming up within the mental health community, within the mental health field, especially within the black community. How can we integrate mental health and the church? How does the two play a role with on another? How do they affect each other? What can we do in order to bridge that gap? Because a lot of individuals, a lot of black folks in our community, we always choose to pray things away. Can that actually work? To a certain extent, right? And we'll speak about that. We'll speak about that more to come once we get to that part. But thank you. How am I doing? How was my week? Week was a very productive week. Very, very, very productive week. I believe with the last 2 episodes, I've been speaking about how I've been being lazy and procrastinating a little bit. But I'm getting back on it, right? Getting back on it. Really got a lot of things done this week. This week actually was very interesting. Very, very interesting. For some odd reason, race was brought up a lot within this week at my main job and at my secondary job. Both. The conversation at my main job, it wasn't really a conversation. I mean, not at my main job, at my second job. The conversation at my second job wasn't really a conversation. It was more so me putting a kid in check. And you know, with kids, with adolescents, they all think they know it all. And there was this one kid who thought, I'm trying to see if I should say the word. Fuck it. There was one kid who was saying, mind you, he was white. He was a white kid. He didn't say the N-word. So it was one kid, he was saying, nigga is equivalent to faggot. And when he spoke about that, I asked him why. He was like, they're both, derogatory terms that are used to, discredit a group of people. I was like, yeah, to a certain extent, you're right. You're very, very right. But to equate the two and to say that they both carry the same amount of weight, that's what he started to say. Like, they both, if they were on a scale, they would both weigh the same. I had to differ. I had to explain to him why. I had to explain to him, the amount of time each word has really been prevalent, the amount of destruction that each word has done. Obviously, both of those words have been destructive within their own right. But I guess just me as a black man and just me with not being a homosexual, I'm always going to lean more towards, nigger, not being equivalent to faggot. Obviously, that word within itself, and I even feel weird saying it because I haven't said that word in years, but, that word, faggot, even within itself is a word that should never be used to describe any type of anybody, to describe their sexuality or anything like that. Hell nah. Same with nigger. But, at certain times, it's about understanding the root of a lot of situations, right? And that was the secondary job. Now the main job was very, very interesting. I posted a poll on Instagram yesterday about what had happened. There was a coworker of mine who flat out said nigger in front of me. She's a therapist, and she's a white therapist. As a therapist, one of the things that we always need to make sure we do is we remain culturally competent and sensitive towards certain words. That's our job because we deal with the sensitive population. So let me give you a backstory of everything that went on, because the backstory may I guess protect her a little bit. I don't know. But so I was working on a very, 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 very psychotic unit the day before, right? So this happened on Saturday. I was working on a very psychotic unit on Friday, right? On that unit, there's this one patient who was like extremely racist. And I probably got called nigger 1,000 times by this one white patient in groups. I had to meet with him. When I met with him, he flat out told me I don't touch black skin, so don't come at me. Things like that. Mind you, he's extremely psychotic, so I get it, right? It's like, all right, those words are not going to faze me because I understand. I don't understand where you're coming from, but I understand where you're at, right? So Saturday, I go to work on Saturday, and I have to work on the same unit. So I tell the girl who handed out the things that we're supposed to do for the day, and I'm supposed to be on that same unit, and I tell her, like, yo, I am not working on this unit because I've gotten called one too many niggas the day before. She was like, all right, cool. She's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna switch you out. I'm like, all right, bet. Right? And as I'm walking away, she's like, Willis, ain't like he called me a nigger anyway. Now, it's important that in life we exercise the value and understand the value of being able to walk away from a situation, because I didn't hear anything else that came out of her mouth except that word, because I was walking away from the conversation before she said it. So the conversation was over. I'm already outside of the door. And then she said it. And when she said it, it was really just like, what the fuck? Mind you, I don't like the lady anyway. She always be doing reckless stuff. She done thrown me under the bus a few times when it comes to a lot of situations. But that's besides the point. When she said, mind you, there is 3 other black women in the room. 3 other black women in the room. So when she said that, I kind of just looked at her and I was just like, I'm gonna act like I didn't hear that and just go back and do what I gotta do. So I go back, do what I gotta do, and then I come across the 3 ladies that were in the room probably about like 2 hours later. They pull me to the side. It's like, yo, Willis, I do not appreciate what the fuck that lady said. I don't give a fuck what the conversation was about. She could have said they ain't like they can call me a cracker or the N-word, anything else. She didn't have to say the word exactly. And I was like, yeah, she did it. And at that point, it was just like, I was trying to not think about it at all, but just trying to act like it didn't happen. But it happened. So they started to speak about, I need to report her. Right? And, I didn't know how I felt about that, right? Because me reporting her would probably cause her to get fired. Now, is she a good therapist? Some would say yes, some would say no. I don't really care for her work. But that was an interesting thing. And one of the things that the other coworker said at the time was like, yo, Willis, she always throws us under the bus. This is the one time we can get her back. Like, get her. I was like, this ain't the time to be petty. But I get it, because there is like the petty side of me who's like, yeah, fuck that bitch. But there is like the other side of me is just like, the context or whatever. Now, should I pull her to the side and speak to her? Mind you, I don't really like this lady, and if I have a conversation with her about that word and tell her why, she shouldn't have used it, her response would probably get me mad, and I probably would be like, look here, bitch. We not finna. So I had to exercise my right to walk away and figure out what I had to do. But after speaking to somebody else, at the job, that was like, only because there were other individuals in the room, you technically have to report it, right? You technically have to report it, especially being that it's coming from someone in your own department. You have to report it. So it's like, all right, so I got to report this young lady. But outside of that, that was just very weird, and it's. And this may be astonishing to some, but that was the first time ever in life that I've ever heard a white person say that word in person, right? I've heard it probably on TV or whatever, but I've never seen it in person. So I was taken aback more so like, did she really just say this? And should I be mad? And it was a mixture of a bunch of feelings. And at the end of the day, she got to get reported. Now, if she gets written up, fired, whatever the case may be, yeah, yeah. Hopefully, she'll figure it out, and we'll make do with that. I want to give another quick shout out to a lot of individuals whose birthdays are this month. It's like November is the month of birthdays, so I want to give a shout out to happy birthday to my man Cam, happy birthday to my man Jarrell. Happy birthday to my man James. Happy birthday to my man Devin. Happy birthday. I haven't said Devin in a long time. I usually call him Dev. That's crazy. Happy birthday to my man Dev. Happy birthday to my man Kelvin. His birthday was on Thanksgiving. Last shout out, happy birthday to my man Keith. All right, Keith, good news. Speaking about birthdays, my birthday next week? I'm getting old. Fuck, I turned 27 on Sunday. Next Sunday on December 2nd. Fuck. That is old, yo. But there's always somebody telling me like, yo, you're young or whatever. So, but I turn 27 next Sunday. I don't make a big deal out of birthdays. I normally don't tell people it's my birthday. I kind of just let it pass. But speaking of my birthday, so my birthday is next month and next week. December 2nd. Boom. Right. So, who's in the comments? I see somebody. I always have a problem clicking this over. Come on, man. Didier, what's the deal? My man, Keith. Nah, I don't get it. I don't got it. I can't remember what I was. I don't really know what they're referring to. But Keith, my man, happy birthday to you, my brother. So, moving on to the self-care piece. One of the things that is very important that we bring into our self-care regimen is understanding that we are creatures of habit, right? We are creatures of habit. One of the main ways we learn anything in life is through repetition, right? So what I really challenge everybody to implement into their self-care regimen is just, finding your own daily mantra or finding your own, your personal mantra. What is that one thing that you're saying? What is that one positive thing that you're saying to yourself all the time? Because we tell ourselves negative things all the time. And because we're individuals who learn through repetition, if you continue to tell yourself, I ain't shit, 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 you're not only going to believe that, you're going to embody it, and you're going to behave as such, right? You're going to behave like an ain't shit person or a person with no worth. Because that's what you're telling yourself, right? Growing up, I believe I was a fuck up. Like with everything that I touched, I thought like everything I get my hands on was gonna fuck up in some regard. So like that's how I carry myself. Obviously I don't call myself that at all anymore. I honestly think I'm a very, very great individual. But the one thing I tell myself every single day, and it's gonna sound funny to some, but the one thing I tell myself every single morning when I'm coming across anything new, even when, every time before I get on the show, like, all right, well, it's time to fuck today's bitch. I tell myself that every day, every morning. Why it's time to fuck today's bitch? Because that job that you got to do, that's your bitch. That work that you got to take care of, that's my bitch. Whatever, this radio show I got to do, that's my bitch. It's about owning it, right? Controlling it and giving it your all. Making sure whatever that you have to get into doesn't control you, doesn't own you, but you own it, right? So creating and implementing that daily mantra into your life, it's going to be big. It's going to be very, very helpful. Whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, it's kind of like your own personal philosophy. However you believe it, whatever it is, as long as it's something for you. As long as it's something for you. Now you get these reading through books, you can come up with your own thing. It could be your own little quote, whatever it is. You know, like I said, I wake up every day and I tell myself, all right, well, it's time to fuck today's bitch. We don't want to get in the habit of saying a bunch of negative things to ourselves because we're going to behave as such, right? Thoughts are only as powerful as the attention and the power that we give them. But repeating those thoughts to ourselves over and over and over again, that's giving that thought power, right? That's giving that thought the power it needs to manifest and to become real. A lot of people who deal with depression and anxiety, we stay on the negative side, right? I think of myself as this: my worth, I have no hope, I'm worthless, right? We tell ourselves all of these negative things every day, and over time, those negative things are going to stick, and it's going to be that much harder to get out of, right? So it's important that, you know, once we're trying to get out of that negative space, right? We're trying to get out of that saying these negative things. We need to constantly work at it every day, because it's going to be hard. If you've been telling yourself something negative for about 5-10 years or whatever, a few months, that's going to become habit, and it's extremely hard to break a habit. Extremely hard to break a habit, especially if it's something that you've been telling yourself. Whenever you come across something hard, the first thing you could possibly do is think of something negative, because unconsciously in your mind you think you're a failure. So whenever you come across something hard, you're going to run away from it. You're going to think you're a negative, so you're just going to be like, fuck it, I ain't dealing with it. So start there, right? Start with a personal mantra. What is something that you could tell yourself? It could be you're great, and that's another thing. When you're telling yourself these things, don't start to think that you're conceited, right? Because I look at myself and I think I'm the most beautiful and gorgeous man on this planet. People in this room are shaking their heads at me. I don't give a fuck who you are. Nobody on this planet looks better than me. Nobody on this planet is better than me when it comes to anything, you know. But at the same time, I understand what I'm not good at. I'm not good at drawing, so I'm not even finna try to go there. However, when it comes to certain things, such as speaking or being a therapist or whatever, I feel like I'm the best. And you're supposed to feel like that, right? People are going to say that's cocky, but the only individuals that's going to say that's cocky may be those individuals who are not confident in their own field. So they're coming from a negative place, right? So have that confidence within yourself. Tell yourself these positive things and create your own little personal mantra and put that into your self-care regimen. At some point in time in your life, put that in your self-care regimen, man. I tell myself all the time, it's time to fuck today's bitch. So with that being said, it's time to fuck today's bitch when it comes to the main topic of this actual show, right? So today, I have last week I had somebody I call my brother. This week I have somebody I call my brother. Somebody that's been knowing him for years, like a long time. And what's the best way to describe this? He's someone that we met through a mutual acquaintance, right? And we've connected off top, right? Because, you know, when you have friends of friends, sometimes that other friend may not connect, right? Your homeboy may introduce you to somebody else and that may not work. But when I was introduced to this young brother right here, it was just like, it's an instant thing. Every time we came across, it was always like we're trying to push each other's, you know, mental capacity. We're talking about things that other people ain't gonna talk about. Other people may be afraid to talk about. We're always talking about those challenging things, and that's something that I thoroughly appreciated within every conversation that me and him have had, because he pushes myself on certain levels and I pushes him on certain levels. You know, we both want to see each other grow. We both want to see each other grow within our fields as much as possible. But at the same time, if you full of shit, we're going to say like, yo, you full of shit. If you're full of shit, we're going to say you're full of shit. So, my main man, Akila. We call him Keela for short. But Akila. What's up, man?
Yo, Willis, man. It is a pleasure to be here, bro. I appreciate you so much, man. It's a pleasure, man. I'm excited, man.
Man, you got this, like, melodic type of tone. Man, that's Willis, man. Nice to meet you, man. I really do appreciate it.
Well, you used to being loud all the time, but, you know, I'm trying to keep the volume down. I don't know how the octaves is going on the other side, man.
But they good, man. They can hear you. So what's going on, man? How you feeling?
Man, I'm actually feeling really, really good. Today, man, it's the end of the break. Kids got to get ready for school tomorrow. That Thanksgiving break is over.
Fuck.
So yeah, right, bro. So you already know.
Oh, no, I'm not saying fuck to that. I'm saying it's the end of the month. We got rent, too.
Oh, what's today? First of the month. Yeah, man. So I'm actually really good, man. Church service this morning was good. My pastor. Shout out to my pastor, Elton J. Penn, East 105th Street Christian Church. Man, he brought a wonderful word today, and that's it, man. I was just high off the word. Left, did a couple errands, took a brief nap, got my kids, and I think my dad was coming to the house to take them to the park. So
Okay.
I'm feeling really good right now.
All right, man. And Keely, you're a minister, right?
Yes.
What caused you to get into that? How long you got to do it?
Oh man, that's a story in itself. Well, I'll just give you some background. My mom got into the Christian faith. I think I was already like a rebellious teenager at the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm not one of those young preachers who grew up in church. You would know. We grew up in the same neighborhood. We have some of the same issues. Our mutual friend is like a godbrother to me. Our families is connected. And so I didn't have that instant church thing. You know what I'm saying? I live street life. Yeah. Shout out to my mom. She's always been a wonderful, powerful woman, and she's always kept me in different programs. But I still went outside, And so I got saved. I think I was about 15, 14.
That's when you got baptized, right?
Yeah, saved and baptized 15 to 14.
Yep.
And then started dance ministry, miming and stuff like that. I was traveling. And I had a up and down life, man. I didn't have the typical young preacher motto. Like, my dad's not a preacher. I don't have any uncles who are preachers. I'm not in the apostolic ministry. I don't have all this lineage to be set up to have a nice church. My culture is not. You get what I'm saying? Like, my cousins and my uncles, they from the projects. You get what I'm saying? And my mom's an only child who grew up over there in the Anthony's Park area. So I don't have what most people assume that I have. But and I thank God for my dual citizenship to let me know that I'm still relatable to the streets. I'm still able to reach out to somebody who doesn't have to have the shirt and tie on, but going through, and I'm going with you too. I'm a preacher. I'm a preacher of the gospel, man. I accepted my calling probably a couple years ago, and I'm just now sort of kind of walking in it the way I should be. I still got some rough edges I need to work on.
Was it difficult to walk into your calling?
Absolutely.
Especially with a lot of the things that we were around?
Absolutely. And it wasn't even outside factors. You spoke on something, it was me.
Yeah.
I never gangbanged. That wasn't really my thing. I didn't want to sell drugs. That really wasn't my thing. But I had my first kid right out of high school. You know what I'm saying? I had my kid at 18, right out of high school. And then more kids came. Then I got married young, and I got divorced young. And so I moved fast. Yeah. And so I've always dealt with this. I'm not worthy to have this mantle of this calling to be a preacher, because what I saw, not saying that they didn't go through anything, but nobody was there really representing the marginalized people.
And there's this essence of perfection.
Yes, absolutely.
There's this essence of perfection. That's one of the biggest, that's what makes it hard a lot of times to really listen to certain preachers, because it's like, dude, I understand what you're telling me right now is a great message, but what you're doing is, and what you're not doing is acknowledging your previous fuck-ups, and that's what makes you a human.
And I think sometimes it depends on how the message is going. Do you do that in the pulpit or not? But I think for guys like you and a lot of guys I know, real recognizes real. For real. And even in the Bible, it says, we know things of the Spirit, and the Spirit recognizes the Spirit. And so I guess from us, our standpoint, like, we know you fake, man. We know you full of, like you said, full of stuff. You get what I'm saying? And so that disconnect from the street to the church is often happening at a rapid rate. You get what I'm saying? And now it's a church on it. It's as many churches on every corner like there is liquor stores, but the liquor stores are still open. You get what I'm saying? There is as many churches on Fig. You can just go down Fig, but the prostitution is still there. And I'm not saying that the church is supposed to take over everything, but we got a church after church after church after church, but a liquor store after liquor store after liquor store after liquor store, and then a prostitute. You get what I'm saying? And so, what are we really doing?
Yeah, and that brings up the discussion of, what responsibility does the church have within the community? Because me myself, I don't personally believe that there should be one church on every corner.
Absolutely.
I believe within every pocket of community there should be one church. Everybody should go into that church, and with that church should divvy up the funds amongst the community. So that way, because what it looks like when it's every church from every corner, it's a competition.
No,
more people coming to my house and less people going to your house. I'm going to steal your people. You're going to steal mine.
Willis, you in the house.
So.
Yeah, I'm going to have to invite you to church one of the next preacher seminars. But you see, like the history of the black church.
Yeah.
Back in the civil rights era, that's how it was in the South. See, we live in L.A., so everybody's trying to be somebody in L.A.
Yeah.
But out there in the South and on the East Coast, one church is taking care of all of the city of Compton, for example. This is a 10-mile city, so everybody goes to this church. That's why their churches are usually large and big, right? And back then, the black church was... The predominantly black church in that era was the catalyst for, like you said, community.
Yeah.
Everybody came to the church to learn how to read. Everybody came to the church to feed their kids. Everybody came to the church to do what Jesus said, to take care of the widows and the orphans and things like that. But now I think we've missed a lot of the different things. Not necessarily living in LA, not necessarily social media, but everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody wants to have their own thing, and now we're missing out. Like I know a lot of young cats who are doing preacher. I know a lot of pastors, but like, if you don't know how many single moms is in your church,
that's a problem.
What gangs are like? What gangs are around? Do you talk to the gang members? You get what I'm saying? Your church is on Hoover Fed. Like, does anybody know who you are outside of our services that we have, outside of the clapping or the revivals? And I'm not saying churches are not doing. I know a lot of churches who are reaching to the community, but the mass majority is, I think we're doing more harm than good. And I feel like if you're not part of the solution, you're a part of the problem.
For real.
And I'm very cutthroat with that.
Yeah.
Because I come from it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's not like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about, the Vanguard, bro. My graduating class of 2005, this is my middle school. This is not all the other homies I didn't lost, but I lost 8 dudes from my graduating class of 2005 from Vanguard Learning Center. I got my panoramic picture and I circled every single dude who got killed. Only one of them was killed by the police. Everybody else was all gangs. You get what I'm saying?
I don't have as many people that got killed, but I have way more people that's in jail, and I already know you know that too.
Yeah.
At least it's. I haven't had the experience of like death within a lot of my very, very close homeboys, and I'm very, very fortunate for that. Like, I really do appreciate that. But it's the people that's next to my close homeboys. They locked up. Yeah. You got people that serving life. You got certain people that's there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or whatnot. And it makes me fortunate, of the path we went down, because we was going down that same path to a certain extent, right? You spoke about how you wasn't gangbanging and things like that. I'd never really gangbanged or anything like that. I wasn't really too heavy right there. But, when it comes to actually being in the middle of it and being there, we could have got caught by a stray bullet real quick. We could have, because there's a lot of times, even though I've never got put on the certain hood, and we know how LA work. Just because you're in that neighborhood, you're automatically affiliated.
Yeah.
So it's like I have to be a blood by choice.
Yeah. I don't have no Crips in my family.
I'm not even gonna say by choice, by default.
By default.
Yeah, I don't have no Crips in my family
not
either.
A soul.
So not one, right? And even I remember the one time one family member actually tried to go be a Crip. It was just like, hold up, motherfucker. This ain't this ain't what we do here. But, like I was saying, I'm very, very fortunate, that myself, yourself, and a lot of my very, very close homeboys are. And I don't really know, within a circle, I don't really know if we have a person that's doing really negative shit. I can think about it.
I mean, we've all had our challenges.
We've all definitely had our challenges. That's there regardless. But I think it's a lot of stand-up men within the people that I'm around. Yeah. Especially when it comes to fatherhood.
That's true.
Especially when it comes to fatherhood. I don't know too many deadbeat dads.
Not if you're gonna be our homie, you're not gonna be a deadbeat dad. We not having. Now we understand things happen. We understand miscommunication. We understand the resentment that the other party might have. We understand the drama, But as long as I know that you trying to do your thing, so we, like I said, I don't know really if you a deadbeat, you a deadbeat by choice.
We gotta talk, homie.
Yeah,
we gotta talk. So, man, going into this conversation, right? And the topic, or the title or whatever it is, pray it away, right? Mental health within the church, right? Within my experience of being a therapist and a lot of the individuals that I come across, a lot of the black individuals that I come across, they've been praying it away for years. They've been praying it away for years, and they've gotten to a certain point within their lives to where they've began to question their faith, right? Because God ain't doing shit for me, right? I've been praying. I've been, consistently going to church. I've been, my tithes, baptized, all this other stuff. But God isn't helping me out. God isn't assisting me when it comes to a lot of the things. And, when I ask these individuals, have you spoken to anybody within their church about what you're going through when it comes to your depression, anxiety, or anything else when it comes to mental illness? They always say either one, nah, because I'm ashamed. I don't really want people to look at me a certain way. Or it's just like, I spoke to my preacher about it. I spoke, to some of the my church family about it, and they all just, girl, it's all right. God got it. God gonna take care of it, girl. Just continue to come to church and, pray, stay faithful. Keep that faith strong and stuff like that. And, we've briefly spoken about it before, the show started. When it comes to religion, a lot of the times I look at that as a scapegoat to work towards your problems, especially when it comes to, certain things within this mental health field, because it's easy to say, I don't understand what I'm going through, so I'm just going to give it to God, so I don't have to work, right? Give all of the negative stuff to God. Give everything to God. God got it. Let me let go of all of this stuff and give it to God. When people do that, what I've noticed is that's also a way for them to be able to not acknowledge or deal with their problems. One of the things that's very important when it comes to mental health, and getting back on a positive mental health, standpoint, is acknowledging and understanding that, like, yo, you are feeling like trash. You do got some negative stuff going on. A lot of the individuals who I've noticed who gone, that route, is kind of like, let me not worry about this because God got it.
Well, a few factors in what you said. So when we look at mental health, before we even get to the church or religion, let's just talk about mental health in the black community.
Go ahead.
And we have been ostracized because of it. I know it's a big debate about, black women not being able to express themselves, and if they're too loud, they're obnoxious and things like that.
Yeah.
But also, black men, if I cry, I'm weak. If I show weakness, if I'm sensitive, I'm a punk, or I'm gay, or things like that. And I think that negative connotation has seeped into us based on culture standards, based on wanting to always have to be strong. Now, if we look at our ancestors, we look at our not even our ancestors, we can just go back to our great grandmothers. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't got to go that far.
We ain't even got to go to slavery. Now, that's a whole nother conversation, but they had to be strong. I read an article a few years ago, and it was talking about because I said so. And in black mamas ain't no explanation. Yeah. What I tell you to do is that's what you're gonna. That's what it is. I think that's across the board. But a grandmother explained that back in the day when the Klan or racist people used to come to the house to try to destroy or whatever the case may be, when I say get up and let's go, you asking why. We don't have time for you to ask why, because now that time you asking why and questioning me and things like that, they didn't do the bomb in the house. They didn't. You get what I'm saying? And
good point.
It's so many different factors when it comes to questioning and mental health and how much that hit on us on our brains. And me personally, I just got into understanding what this mental health thing looks like. I'm not diagnosed with anything. I thank God that I wasn't that bad, but the church. Some churches are doing it. Some churches are getting better. I know a lot of churches who are developing counseling centers and having therapy. I went to counseling.
Okay.
At Faithful Central, they have championship counseling, and I didn't expect me to ever be there because I didn't know. I went in like I just need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not schizophrenic. I don't have any diagnosis. I didn't have to take any pills, but I just knew something was up.
And I commend you for that, right? For the fact that something is wrong. So let me go get this checked out.
Yeah.
Because if something is wrong with my ankle, okay, let me go get that checked out.
Yeah.
If something is wrong with my chest and whatever, let me go get this checked out. It's harder for individuals to say, hey, something is actually wrong with me or the spiritual or mental level. But because we can't identify it, it's easy to be like, nah, I'm good.
But I think even in the church, if we look at it biblically, the same way Jesus healed people's physical, he can possibly heal the mental. Now, Rick Warren, he's a known pastor. He has like the 5th largest church in the United States. His son was battling depression for years, and nobody knew.
Yeah.
And he said that he told his son that we're going to pray that God heals you, or we're going to pray that he allows somebody to develop the medicine to cure you.
Okay.
But that does not mean you're going to stop getting help. So I think what it is that we demonize looking for help, because back in the civil rights thing, everything was demonic. If you schizophrenic, you're demonic, or everything was you crazy, or we got to pray it out, or real Pentecostal church, you got to purge it out your spirit, or whatever the case may be. But that was all based out of ignorance. And so now we're getting to a point of true health, and if we can, I believe God can heal somebody's mind. I totally believe that. But I also understand if he has not healed your mind, you need to go get help. Do I agree with all the medicines that they take? Absolutely not. That's another conversation.
Yeah.
But I do understand that at least going to get help. I know for me personally, when I went and got counseling from a white guy too, and that's another thing. We so black that we feel like that we can't get help. We don't never. I mean, I'm not saying that there's no racial systematic racism in our health and things like that. That's another topic. But I didn't go into my mental health situation worried about my therapist's name was Mike, because Mike's white. He's not going to understand where I'm coming from. I'm not here for you to understand where I'm coming from. I need you to help me get through it. And my number one issue, I'll just be transparent. The last year, I just felt overwhelmed. I lost 4 friends. I lost a grandmother and 2 uncles. Everything was just back to back to back to back to back. I'm a father of 5 children. A lot of people don't know I was going through a custody battle for almost a year and a half, going on 2. My kids are affected by my choices that I were making, and now what I've done and what we're going through is affecting them. Just to be completely honest, my 7-year-old son is seeing a therapist right now.
That's good.
Because I noticed that he wasn't learning his emotion. He was just really emotional. He was going through it. I didn't have to take him to the church. I didn't have to do it. I was like, no, Kyle, we're going to figure it out now. Because my number one issue, I'm 27, these 27 years of living, I never processed anything, Willis. I always tucked it. I don't know if I tucked it because of culture. I don't know if I tucked it because of what I went through. I don't know if I tucked it because somebody told me to tuck it. But I never processed anything.
It's a combination of everything.
Everything.
Because we're not taught to
sir.
process it. We're not taught to let it go. We're taught to just, tuck it in.
Yeah.
Because
be strong. Yeah.
Be strong. Because it's
Man up.
like what you say, when you're speaking about the historical context of a lot of things. We don't have time and we don't have the ability to be out here asking for help, especially if you've grown up in a lot of these very violent neighborhoods.
Yeah. Because, honestly, how long we been losing people?
Forever.
I never needed to sign up for the armed services.
No.
I know a gunshot and getting shot at and
exactly.
A lot of white friends, they don't understand that I know where everything is at. My geographical mindset of knowing where freeways is at and knowing where people live and knowing my street is because of gangs. It's because of gangs.
Yeah.
Like literally, I know where everything's at is because of gangs. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I've never processed losing people at 12 and 13 years old. Remember when Mike died? How old were we when Mike died? Like 12, 13? Because he's a few years older than us.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've been losing friends since
Forever.
that long. And you go to the funeral, now you desensitized. Now when you lose somebody, you be like, first thing you say, did he get shot? Was it a car accident? Because you never really cried. I'll be honest, I didn't mourn my grandmother till like about 6-7 months later.
So let me ask you this. What role do you feel like the church has in actually that? Because if we're individuals who've been going to church our whole lives, but if we're also individuals that have been experiencing death our whole lives, and if we get to a point to where death has become numb, what is the church actually doing for us?
See, in the Christian or the biblical way of following Christ, we look at death as a celebration. Now, does God, so that's based off our faith. God is very sovereign. He allows a lot of things to happen.
Yeah.
But when I'm 13 years old and my 13-year-old friend got killed and I was right there, or I've been losing friends since I was 13, you look at how my faith kicks in, but then nobody really took the time to pull me to the side and ask me, am I okay?
Yeah.
People just start doing that now. They wait till you go through it. They wait till you go to jail. They wait till you have kids.
To the last minute.
Yeah. Oh, now you're okay. When I've been dealing with, you just never act, or you never paid attention. You get what I'm saying? We grew up in Compton. We grew up in the inner city, and we deal with inner city things. I got peer pressure from going to school. I got peer pressure for trying to make it home from school. I got peer pressure to go outside. You get what I'm saying? I got peer pressure just to, if I don't know if I'm gonna see my friends or not. It'd be as many times that we was partying at Mama Bell house and all this type of stuff. Anything could have happened.
Yeah, because we in the backyard.
We in the backyard, and it's an alley right there. You get what I'm saying? And it just, I feel like the church has to, the church has to understand that we just can't pray, like you said, the topic, we just can't pray away mental illness. You have to really get to a point where we creating avenues. The same way people creating Kaiser and St. Jude's for cancer and things like that, we need to get into a community-based process to get some real issues tackling. And if you need biblical principles, go for it. I think there should be, if this is the person that believes in this way of this religion or this way of faith, then we need to assess it differently. But we can't just say, oh, God is going to take care of your mind, but we're not. There were physicians in the Bible. There were doctors in the Bible. And if mental health is here now, it had to be going on back then. Now, there was a little bit more ignorance back then, yes, because mental health, when you acting out publicly, we automatically deem you crazy.
Because we don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is.
Just bugging, yep.
But okay, that's back then. Now we're at a point where we know where people are struggling with bipolar or being schizophrenic or battling depression. And you just can't say, well, pray it away, give it to God if I'm depressed. When I was going through this year that I was going through, I had some ups and I had some downs.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I was battling depression. But I wasn't weak-minded to be like, well, I'm about to kill myself or commit suicide and things like that. But I did feel it in my spirit. Like, it's times where I don't want to keep going. Like, I'm catching blow after blow after blow after blow.
So within that, have you ever approached someone at your church about it? And what was the reaction from the church if you approached somebody about it?
I didn't really approach my church about it. I kind of just took the initiative to go do it on my own.
Okay.
And the reason, my pastor knew that I was going to get help, but actually another friend, the young adult pastor at Faithful Central, he recommended me to go. And Charles Opong, my big brother, he been told me that I should look into it.
Oh, okay.
So I just never.
That was already in the back of your head.
In the back of my head, but my pride wouldn't let me go.
And that pride thing, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yes, sir.
A whole other day. Like that's the ego stuff.
My ego wouldn't let me. My ego wouldn't. And even now, I still struggle with after going to get these tools that I learned in therapy. My number one thing in therapy was I never processed anything. I never just sat there and start processing. So like the last couple months, I've been learning how to process how I feel and not letting things get to me. But in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I don't want to go. And it had nothing to do with church. It had nothing to do with not believing. I believed that I was going to get help.
So at what part in this, I want to make sure I frame this question right. At what part when it comes to, mental health and church, at what part is it the church's fault? To where, us as a community, we're either afraid or prideful or just not secure in the church. I
don't want to necessarily just blame the church. I believe certain individuals, because if that's the case, if we just blame the church, we need to blame our school systems. We need to blame our teachers, our counselors, our therapists, especially being black. Little black boys acting out. Every kid don't have ADHD. Every kid ain't ADD. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, facts.
Especially when my dad's not in the house. My mom is working a couple jobs. I'm outside is raising me. Yeah. And I'm barely eating at home. My only meal is what I get at school. So I don't want to just blame the church, but I do believe that the history of the black church in our community should be not taken lightly. Like when King died and the Panthers came out, bro, they was like, we feeding our kids in the morning. We're going to take care of our children. And so now I want to see that if my people are sowing their seed into this building, into the man of God, or to wherever's going on in the church, we should use up some more of those resources to really, really give back in our community and not just feed people on Thanksgiving, but really take the time. Like I know my church, we built another level of another floor and had more classrooms added, and now we're working hand in hand with DPSS to get agents and create our centers for parents to meet with their children and to create connections when they're going through a custody or so they can see them, or we have trained people coming. And so that's the type of stuff we need. Yeah. Like I remember a couple weeks ago, it was some miscommunication and a parent couldn't see her kid at the church because the church was shut down. And bro, my heart was just like the little brother had not seen the other little brother, and like my mind was just like, oh my God, I don't know, like, do we tell him no? Like I was giving them food, like here, take everything, you know what I'm saying? And they end up meeting at the park, but I was like, man, I thank God that like my church has a place where we're really doing it and not just building funds just to be building funds,
just getting money for it.
Money.
At the end of the day, and that's my biggest problem when it comes to church.
You sound like Worm. Worm said that. He said, man, I ain't coming to church until you pastor.
I'm not. Like, for real, that's my biggest problem because we're not. it's clear that a lot of churches are, and it's frank, that a lot of churches are like, we're not helping you unless you're coming to service or unless our doors are open. Once they're open, then it's and that's me. Like that's a lot of churches are really just nonchalant and really backing off, you know, and I feel like it's very, very fucked up because a lot of churches are very upfront about it, right? They're going to say like, oh, I got your back or whatever, but there's a disclaimer to me having your back. You know, you got to come to this church, and that's something that I hate, and that's something that like it's the reason why it's hard for me to even go to church. It's the reason why, it's part of the reason why it's hard for me even like to be a Christian or anything. Like I believe in God, but when it comes to a secular type of religion, I can't do that, because it's like when I have a problem, do I have faith that my church is going to have my back? I don't. I have more faith in the fact that if I tell my church certain things,
they'll spread it.
Deacon Roberts is going to tell Deacon Jones, and you know it's going to go all up and through the pulpit.
And see, that's why I think conversation needs to be had, because we often have conferences and have meeting and luncheons with other preachers and other pastors and other people who are in the church. I will want to create, and maybe this is what I need to do next year, I will want to create a space where we have people who don't go to church, who don't come on Sundays, but share your views on why I'm not coming and not be attacked or ostracized for that.
You would hate that. I can't.
That's what we need, Will, because look at what you said. You said, okay, you put the money over here. All right, y'all giving money. We got to deal with the money issue. But that's with anything. Like, bro, I need to see what you're gonna do with this money. At the end of the day,
we got bills. Yeah,
we got bills. But you said something so important. You're afraid to be vulnerable because now your business is spread all through the congregation, and that's why you're not coming. Like, and the thing is, I don't need you to come for that reason. I want you to come. So what we're doing right now, do not forsake the assemblies of the brethren, so you can see, like, man, I'm still here and you still here. That's why we come to worship. That's the reason why we come. But now, if this place is not a safe haven for you, then why? Like, what are we doing, or what culture do we have, or what historical background that's been going on for you to even feel that way? Because I don't care about you not giving your money.
For real.
But if you can't trust me as your pastor or as a minister to know to speak to you in confidence, and now your business is spread, that's something even and totally different. Because what if you're like, Pastor, I've been feeling depressed and I've been praying, like, you know, give me the spiel, like, I don't know what to do.
But that also says a lot about the church. Like, we're not going to pick up these negative things if we don't see the negative stuff.
Absolutely.
So if I don't have faith in, like, Pastor, you be preaching a good word or whatever, if I don't have faith in if I don't have faith in the fact that if I tell you something, you're going to keep it to yourself, is because I know there's rumors and stuff being spread around here, and you lead the way when it comes to a lot of these rumors.
And we have to also understand that the pastor, anybody, is still man. And so your faith, for example, you trust me, right?
Yeah.
Like, like if you was to tell me something, you automatically trust me, no matter what, because I'm your boy. We've developed a relationship. Yeah. But the spirit in you, that feeling that you feeling is like, I can trust Akila with this, and I know my business is not gonna get out. That's what we call faith, and that's what we call the spirit. And so, like you said, you believe in God. You have some issues with the church, and you have some issues with the structure, but you believe in God. So at that point, that belief is automatically coming out of you to come to me, so we can relate. And what we have to do is we have to move the building out of the way and create a relationship. The building is just a building, but if we can't do this, Willis, then we just got an empty space.
Yeah.
And I think we need, like I said, man, I really think we need to have a real conversation, and nobody gets mad or get attitude or get egotistical and want to defend themselves for something. Because this is not just in a black church. This happens everywhere. Well, this happens in white church, Asian church, everywhere, everywhere. But but I think in the black community, because it's so powerful, so prevalent, and it's so visual, you know, I think that we have a duty. Because the church is what kept the civil rights movement.
For this long, You
get what I'm saying? Like, it's not... I was watching Widows the other day, and the politician needed the church. He was going to pay the pastor to tell the church publicly in the pulpit to vote for this candidate. So it's still power in us, because you know, you get what I'm saying. The church hosts building funds, and we deal with politicians and get things signed off and get grants, and like you said, get therapists here. So it's still power in the numbers, but are we doing more harm than we are doing good?
Because what I don't see the church is doing, I don't see the church pushing work. Like, and what I mean by that is, I don't see the church pushing the fact that you have a lot of power within yourself. So you need to get out here and go do the work. It's always like, yo, God got it. God got my back. Let go of a lot of things that you have. A lot of that stress and a lot of those problems. Just give all glory and all faith and all strength to God. I believe that to a certain extent, because there has to get to a certain point to understand, like, yeah, there's a God out there, but there's also a God within yourself. And being the fact that there is a God within yourself, you have to understand that you have that strength to go push and go do things. So with the things that your church is doing, man, hats off, and I really do commend it. When it comes to pushing the counseling, when it comes to building that extra level so we can be able to assist those people. Because that letting people know is like, yes, God is there, but you also have these other little things that you can do on your way to take care of it. I don't see churches pushing that. Like, yo.
I think, like, I know my pastor, and I know a few other guys too, because the Bible says faith without work
is dead. That's my biggest. That's the best thing. That's the best thing that the Bible done said since
faith was already, and not, don't just be hearers of the word, but be doers also.
Yeah.
And the Bible says that Jesus told these people, these 10 lepers, to go somewhere. He gave them an instruction, and they were supposed to do it. And while they were doing it, they were getting healed.
Yeah.
And it might not happen in all churches, and I think, like we said, it's so many churches.
It's
so many. Like, oh my God! Like, and then you get to the church, you in there, and it's like, pray, holler, scream. But I didn't leave with any act, like, what can I do to get better? And I know a lot of pastors that are doing, like, I'm not shading that, but I do think that should be number one, because now, okay, you saved. I'm going to heaven. Okay, praise God.
But we stop it at, and that's the issue. It's like you get baptized and you saved, and we're just like, you good.
Yeah, that can't be. No. Yeah. Because everybody wants to be deep. Like you said, why so many churches? Everybody wants to be Paul. I don't know if you heard of Apostle Paul. Everybody wants to be Paul. Everybody wants to start churches and plant churches and things like that. Paul didn't have no wife. Paul didn't have no kids. He didn't have that. And so if you're like me, for example, I want to do ministry full time. If God allows me to do it full time, I want to do it full time. But I'm still, in my back of my mind, I'm like, but I'm going to still work, dude. Like, I'm going to still do something else. You're not about to just, you get what I'm saying? Because I have children. I want to get married again. I want to have that family structure, because that type of stuff makes me happy. The joy of the Lord is my strength. But family, I still want to have a regular life and still go to heaven. I was just talking about prosperity recently. Prosperity preaching. You do this, you're going to get $1 million. You do this, you do that, you're going to get $1 million. And what happens is that society and people have demonized being prosperous and being a Christian at the same time. For example, you got these pastors who have great, like, a lot of money. Let's just do it like that.
Yeah.
Now, do we know some pastors have side businesses? No. Some pastors in real estate, they in a lot of things. But you know what I'm saying, the way it looks.
Yeah.
Right? We have done two things. Number one, we have not educated ourselves to, like, I shouldn't be pastoring in the hood, and you got all this going on, but the hood, like, look at what you're doing.
But the hood is still trash.
Yeah, trash. You get what I'm saying? It makes no sense. Like, it just makes no sense visually. Now, you might really be a upstanding guy. You might really be a standing pastor. You're not stealing the money. They're paying you decent wage, and you got other side hustles. But you have to be conscious in your surroundings. You can't just do whatever you want to do. You can't just pull up to El Segundo and San Pedro in a Bentley and not expect the sheep to look at you like, what's going on?
And then that brings to the point of, at what point within, your job as a church goer or a pastor, at what point do you sit back and connect with the community?
I think every day. I think as a pastor, if your church is in the inner city or in the urban community, I really truly believe that your number one job is to be for the people, no matter what. I think you need to shake hands. I think you need to go to the local barbershop. I think you need to pop up on the gang softball games that they have. I think that should be your duty, because these are the people that's coming to your church, whether it's their aunties or they cousins, their mamas or whatever. Make yourself present, because now you just having church, but you're not relatable, because now, if you don't, the Bible says, go make disciples to all nations. Before you even hit the nations, you got to take care of Jerusalem. You got to take care of home. So a lot of pastors want to travel to the United States and travel all around and go to Africa. Why would I go feed Africans when I can just go down the street?
Facts,
you hear me? Like, why would I'm flying way over there to do what? When we can go to 6th Street in San Pedro and it's a line full of people.
Tents.
And tents, bro, tents. I was down there like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, man, they really sleeping out here in the cold in tents.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. You get what I'm saying? And I think what we have to do is we have to get to a point where we say, okay, this is what my community needs. This is what God can do. But you have to do these things. God is going to save you because he loves you. That's it. That's all. But if you want this next level, the Bible says he can do exceedingly abundantly above all. Greater is he that is in you that he is in the world. If you have, like you said, that God in you, then the mount you can move mountains with just the faith of a mustard seed. So you can get that degree. You can have the nice house. You can have the nice car. But there is work in between there to get to there.
But you don't. But the church don't push that, and that's my
not all
issue.
churches.
Not all churches. Like there are some churches that does, but I shouldn't be generalizing it. But we're generalizing.
Yeah.
Right.
But like you said, like we live in LA, and so it's. Like every time we look around, there's another church. Every time we look around, somebody wants to be a bishop. Every time we work around, someone wants to be an apostle. Somebody wants to be somebody. Everybody, it's church after church, like liquor stores. And so now, like you said, because of these things, we be desensitized to the things of God. Like now, I'm like, I don't really feel. And I come from a not prosperity, but I come from a wealthy church. The church I got saved at and was baptized at was middle upper class African Americans. So I never really seen struggle. So when I was coming to church, I seen the cars and I seen businessmen and entrepreneurs and lawyers and stuff, all that. You get what I'm saying? So it never bothered me. But I also saw that my church, if my church didn't have nothing, we had children's church. Yeah. We had a space for we had a nursery. We had elementary school kids, middle school kids, high school kids. We had space. I've been to churches where the pastor and assistant pastor, the youth pastor got an office, but the children having children's church outside in a tent. But y'all doing ministry. You get them? And so I came in on the reverse side. So I've seen like to have a good music ministry. I've seen a big kitchen. I've seen money, bro. Like I've seen it.
So is there a point in time to where the church or the pastor would have to say, hey, when it comes to your issues and when it comes to things that you have going on, God isn't enough?
Oh, that's a real good question. I would have to say God is enough. Faith-wise, I believe that God can do anything. I do it all, but I do also believe that God also. The Bible says that faith pleases God, and so one of my main things right now, I've been struggling with my faith recently because I want some things in my life and I want some things from God, and I need to step out on faith, but not saying, "Oh God, you're just gonna bless me." I got to do an application.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I got to type this paper up.
I got to get
it's always things before that. So cuz God is going to come cuz he said it was going to come.
Yeah.
But I have to do the necessary things to get there because God don't care about it coming or not. He wants to see what you're going to do on the way there. So he wants to see like, okay, you say you trust me, you believe in me, show me. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like you said, your favorite verse, faith without work is dead. So you can pray and believe all the time. You can't pray for the job, but then don't go out on any interviews. You can't pray for the job, but then don't turn in no applications. You can't pray for the job and don't even wake up and say, look like you want the job.
Yeah.
How you going to show up to the job? You get what I'm saying? Like, there's you have to do steps.
And we're putting a lot of this on the church's back. Is that unfair? Yes and no, but we're putting a lot of this on the church's back, but we need to put a lot of this on the individual, right? Because like I said earlier, a lot of people who have these issues, we kind of use church and God as a scapegoat. We don't want to say it as such, but that's what we're using it for, so we won't have to really address what we need to address.
Absolutely. Because
it's easy to just go to church and deal with that and not do that work, right? A lot of us black folks, we like things now. We want stuff right now, especially within this generation. Like,
but that was passed down, Willis.
I know,
because everything could be possibly taken away from it. Like,
exactly,
bro, now to this day, I have an issue with having money in the bank. Like, I just keep my cash, like, because you never know.
I don't put stuff in.
I put stuff in the bank when I need to pay for something, but outside of that, I do cash because I just never know.
So how do we get out of that then?
I think to get out of that mindset, that's not necessarily a church issue. That's a freedom issue. The church does speak on renewing your mind. Yeah, God does speak on renewing your mind. But that type of issue, that's not deeper than the church. That's more so in the individual. And what are we teaching our individuals about getting debt free?
But I'm going to say that should be something where the church and that person meets, because we're church going individuals. But if we go to the church and church can't really meet us where our needs to be met at in certain aspects, you shouldn't go to church to get, a financial class or whatever. But that church should say, if you have $5 in the bank, don't give me no tithes today.
Well, no, I know specifically, like my pastor has literally said on the pulpit, do not pay your do not give your tithes to the church if that's your rent money.
Yeah.
Like literally has said that, and will keep saying that. And so now, but look where he comes from. Mm-hmm. He comes from struggle. They get caught up on his car. They get caught up in his career, his clothes that he wear. But I literally know his life personally, and he's still struggling personally. But I know what he's been through. Like I foster care, mom on drugs, being homeless. He was telling me a story with his oldest daughter, and I almost cried because I never knew. Yeah. When he was 17 years old, holding, he had to wrap her up because of the butt. Like, bro, it came to tears. So he's been there. And so, like you said, if the church creates a conversation for somebody like Willis, if you came to my church and say, Pastor or Akila, man, what can I do to get into some like financial literacy courses? And there are a lot of churches doing that, but not enough. Yeah. Not enough to tackle those type of issues. Like, why am I afraid to bank? Do I know about the stock markets? Do I know about fixing my credit? And not even necessarily just, pay this person $80 a month to help you fix your credit. But do you know how to do it? Do you know how the odds and ends? You get what I'm saying? And so we have to keep creating spaces for that. That's why I said the church needs to get back to the root of being the catalyst for the community. I'm talking about for medicine, for school, for food, for education. Back in the day, most people couldn't even read. The pastor could read. The pastor used to have to read the newspaper to tell the church, the congregation, or what's going on. You know what I'm saying? People didn't know how to read back in the 40s and 50s. But the pastor, he was the smart one. He knew everything, and that's where a lot of that ego was amplified on the trickle on down. And now you think you missed the big stuff. You think you know everybody. But our generation, millennials, we the most educated. Yeah. We question, and we got the internet.
For real.
And so you just can't tell me. Like, I know a lot of my friends who stopped going to church because of like the black struggle now. Like now, a lot of churches don't want to speak on police brutality, systematic racism.
Why do you think there's that?
I think not all, but I think some, they don't really tackle the issues because they want to stay neutral. They have the mindset of, that ain't the way of a Christian, that ain't the way of God. But if we look at Jesus' life, he messed up the system. You get him, like a brown man with coarse hair messed up the system. Challenged the whole Roman government by doing the right thing, by standing up for the Samaritan woman when he wasn't supposed to. You get what I'm saying? He created conflict, and I don't know if it might be because of money, it might be because of politics. I know a couple weeks, about a month ago, those pastors met with Trump. And the whole United States was tripping out. But I wasn't even mad that they met with Trump. I was mad because nobody said anything. I don't care if they said that they told him don't say anything, don't raise your hand. Look, I'm raising my hand. If the Secret Service gonna pull me out, if I get King was in jail. King used to go to jail. Do you know King been to jail more times than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has been to jail more times than anybody else in this room for what he believed in. Like, I'm talking about writing letters in jail because he understood the sacrifice. But we want to compromise because we want to, like you say, pray it away.
We want to stay safe. And that's a huge reason why there's a lot of individuals within this
start leaving the church.
Exactly.
Because we not how you want to stay safe, but we don't feel safe. What is when we was 12 or 15 years old? Remember everybody used to wear hats? What's the first thing we do when we get pulled over? Whoop! Take our hat off, straighten up, turn your music down.
Exactly.
I've been people say you getting out trying to puff up to the police, bro. I've been afraid of the police since I was a kid. I already knew what to do at 12 and 13. Like,
and that's deeper than church. That's
way
trauma.
Deeper than church. But the church needs to speak on that.
Yes.
Because the church has officers and police officers in there. Like I know Pastor Rayford Owens in Compton. He's a deputy sheriff. And so now I believe he always comes in a consistent battle because he works for the sheriffs, but he pastors one of the largest churches in Compton. And you know the sheriffs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's
they ruthless.
They ruthless.
They ruthless.
But they also a little bit more lenient too. We already know when the sheriffs pull you over, they only want two things.
You got drugs or
gun.
Yeah.
That's it. Or you bang. That's the. If you ain't in none of that, you good.
You
but
good.
you get to LAPD, you get to the small little precincts, bro. Something's gonna happen.
They
if you
reaching.
They
They
reaching.
reaching.
You
They
get what I'm saying?
reaching.
So I do think the church needs to get back to the standpoint because that's what we were here for. That's what we're created for. We are created to take care of our community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna save. Yeah, you're going to heaven, but Jesus said. He said when he taught us how to pray, he said on earth as it is in heaven. So I want the same things. We need it down here.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not saying it's gonna be perfect like heaven, but if you represent me, you should not be living in poverty in your heart or in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you said in the prosperity. Why can't we, or why is it that it's always give me your money, or then also on the flip side, why do we look at pastors and preachers and they can't have nice things? If the lawyer can have a nice car, if the doctor can have a nice car, if the principal can have a nice car, why can't he have a nice car?
Mm-hmm.
But because we represent tax-free money, let's talk. Because we represent people giving instead of somebody having to go work. A sermon is what, 30 minutes to an hour, and you could possibly make a couple $1,000s a week, $2,000-$3,000 a week.
Easy.
So
Easy. So it's an easy thing. So one of the biggest things, because obviously we need to start to get into, okay, what can the church do from this point forward? And I think a lot of it goes into, one, what your church is actually doing. Just being completely honest and building those other things to help the people know, like, yes, you go seek God, but there are things along the way that you need to do. Mm-hmm. But also when it comes to a lot of churches, the biggest thing that we need to challenge them to do, be very blunt and honest to our church. Like, hey, you need to start holding these sorts of programs.
Absolutely.
For this. You need to start doing this for that. Because I don't know, some churches, they may not even know that they can do certain things. Some churches do. A lot of churches may operate out of fear. Like, I want to stay here because it's safe. And we got to get out of that mindset of we need to continue to do things just because they're safe. Right. Everything that's comfortable isn't right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything that's comfortable isn't right.
I mean, look at it. Like I said, I grew up in a pretty wealthy, known wealthy church, but then also I traveled to non-predominantly black churches, so the white churches and things like that. Like I mentioned, Rick Warren, bro, it was like Neverland for Jesus.
So how was it out there with the white churches comparing it to the black churches when it comes to connecting a lot of the mental health stuff?
Like we said earlier, because mental health is demonized over on our side of the freeway, is less spoken out. But over there, that's what because they don't understand gangs. You get what I'm saying? They don't understand. I'm not saying all, but they don't understand. Like, for example, I'm scared that I'm gonna lose you getting shot when they just dealing with their parents' divorce. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or they're dealing with eating issues, eating disorders, and things like that. And so we be looking like, man, y'all tripping. I'm dealing with real life issues, but it's big over there. They have a whole floor. That's what they deal with, because they don't have to deal with the things we have. They don't have to deal with systematic racism or police brutality or gangs or drugs and things like that. And so mental health on that side of the freeway in their churches is very much, it's not demonized. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, if you guys need help, come on. We have some classes, we have the therapy, we have counselors and things like that. And when I went, they never were really attacked. Now, I'm not saying scandals and things like that don't happen across the board, but when I go to church and I see that there is everything that I possibly need here, like I went to Saddleback in Orange County, bro, they had a skate park. They had like 3 or 4 cafes. It was schools on campus. I never had to leave. I can be here for the whole weekend. You get what I'm saying? If I needed something, they have pantries, they have food, they have clothes, and it's like, wow.
And that's a funding thing, right? The reason why they have all of that stuff is, they have the funds to take care of it. And I think that kind of goes back into what I was speaking about earlier about how there doesn't need to be one church for every block, but there should be the church for the community.
Yes,
and then we could all bring our funds together and we can build like those skate parks or counseling centers and, nurseries for the kids to go to, just in case, mom needs to go to work, she can bring the kid here or whatever the case may be.
Yes, sir.
But, when it comes to a lot of things, well, let me ask you this. What was your church's response when you went to counseling?
For the people who knew, when I told my pastor about it, so I didn't like make an announcement. Like some people who know, they would say, "Man, wow," But you know what? I was more afraid of telling my mama and my dad that I was seeking help, and I was even more afraid of myself. I was down in myself because I sent my son, my 7-year-old. And I wasn't really looking for anybody's pat on the back, but I'm glad that I went. And I actually plan on going back. Not saying because I feel like something's wrong, but the tools that I learned, just learning how to process stuff, bro, I felt okay. And so now when I go do ministry and I'm talking to people and things like that, I recommend it. Like if I see signs and I see that, okay, this is not something that we just gonna pray away.
So is that how you implement the things that you've learned from your counseling sessions into
your
ministry?
I'm not a licensed therapist, or I'm not a psychologist.
No, but even still, tools is tools.
Tools
like,
is tools.
Like hand it over.
Especially with young black men.
Yeah.
Because now I know most of it is processing things. You never cried. You never just was mad and it was okay. You never just screamed. Nobody, you get what I'm saying? And it helped me be able to recognize it and see it and say, I used to be just like that. Even now, I'm gonna be honest with you, even now going to therapy, it has allowed me to be a better parent. I'm a little bit more patient, and I'm not perfect. I'm still, but my sons, when they're emotional, I'm patient with them. Like, express to me how you're feeling. Tell me what's going on. I don't want to, suck it. Sometimes I'm like, man, you got to man up. Come on, we got to get things that need to be done. Because sometimes we don't have the time. Like, bro, we got to go. We got to protect the family. You know what I'm saying? Like, you seen 300. Look, we don't have time for all this. Man up and let's go, because the war is coming. But times that are not war, but I'm just in a habit of making them toughen up, sometimes I got to be soft with them too. Like, talk to me. Tell you, cry. Why are you crying? What are you crying for? The same things that I would get, Kilo. Why are you crying? What are you crying for? How are you feeling? And so I got a good response from my pastor. I got a good response for the other ministers who knew I went. J.P. Foster, Faithful Central, he knows. Pastor Charles Opong, he know I went. Elder John Bernard, he knew I went. A couple of people knew I went. But then what I did realize, that other people go too. People be going to get mental health. They just don't want to tell you. They don't want to let you know. Like, oh, for real? You be like, dang. Yeah, people go. And whether it's a Christian-based counseling, whether it's a holistic-based counseling, I'm starting to realize that it's not becoming more popular, but it's becoming more common because people are now recognizing the signs, and now they're like, okay, I need to go get some help. I need to figure this thing out, because I'm about to lose my mind with being saved and all.
Yeah,
you hear me? It's about to be crazy. Rick Warren's son committed suicide, but he was saved. Yeah. From what they tell us, he was bringing people to church. He served in a ministry, but he was sick. And so now, what level of patience do we get with people when we know they're sick? When we have bipolar people, or we have schizophrenic people, when we have people who are mentally depressed, mentally ill, what level of patience does the church now have? Because we would give them the same patience if they had cancer.
True.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
You hear me? We'll give them a lot of patience when they battling pneumonia. We'll go see them in the hospital. We'll pray. We'll come. God is going to heal you. But the moment somebody act out and we actually know they sick, we don't give them the same patience, because guess what? We can't see the effects.
Yeah.
We know when somebody in chemo and radiation. But what if they getting that same radiation, but it's just on their brain? You know what I'm saying? So now what do we do as the church ministers? What do we do as representatives of the community to be a little bit more patient?
It's education, because with education is going to become that patience.
Okay.
Right? With education is going to become that patience. A lot of the reason why it's easy for us to throw, a lot of individuals to seek medical help when it comes to a lot of physical things is because, like you said, we can see it. We know what that is. But when it comes to things that has to deal with, the brain and mentally, a lot of people, what they do is they equate spirituality with your mental well-being.
Amen.
And where do those two fall in line? I would say they're damn near even, right? Because I don't really think you're spiritually going to be good if you're not mentally good, right? But can your spirituality assist with you with your mental well-being? Yes. And can your mental well-being assist with your spirituality? Yes. But are those two connected? Yes. But the church, what I see, tends to divide the two, or say, oh no, mental well-being is all spirituality. It's God, 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 God. No, it's everything else. God is included in that. God is everything. God is surrounded by it all, and I think it's important that we understand God is surrounded by it all, including your mental well-being.
I agree with you, based on the simple fact that biblically there's a lot of instructions on your choices that you make, and what do you think and how you think. You know what I'm saying? There's power in life or death in the power of your tongue.
Yep.
And how you think. My dad used to always tell me, think positive thoughts. That's not just a world. That's even in the Bible, man. That's something, because you gotta think positive that God is gonna take care of things and not be Debbie down. But like you said, they go, because you can get, man. Look, I can get saved today, Willis, at my church. You hear me?
Yeah.
But I still haven't made the right decisions to live like I am. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I'm saved. I'm going to heaven now. Okay, I'm going to heaven, but I'm not making the necessary decisions to put what I wanted to be saved from down. Like, you have to make a decision unless you're sick. Now, if you're sick, there are other things that needs to happen. But you get what I'm saying? Like, alcoholics go to AA meetings. You get what I'm saying? If you got drugs in your system, you got to go to rehab and detox those things.
Yeah.
I'm starting to realize all that type of stuff was a sickness. For example, like the movie Tyler Perry had with Taraji, Acrimony.
Acrimony?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. And outside of the gender roles and all that other stuff, I said at the end of the day, she was sick before she even met him.
Yep. We wait till the last minute, because a lot of the times we don't know that we're sick.
Yes, sir.
We just think it's just, this is just life.
It's just life.
It's just what it is. And I tell my patients all the time, you're not just here because of one thing. You're here because of a collection of things that went on over a period of time. So a lot of times we don't really know that we're sick.
Yeah.
So it takes us,
I didn't know I was depressed. I didn't even know. I'm like, what's going? Like, I'm going by my life and I'm looking at all the different things that have happened, and I'm realizing how I was feeling, where my mind was, on the days when nobody's around.
But also, we don't even want to label it as that, because even just me even me still right now, I still struggle with even saying like, yo, I may be depressed in certain things, or I may need to go seek a therapist, because there is vulnerability with saying that I am depressed. There is vulnerability with saying that I need to go see a therapist. And then, us as men, it's very, very hard to get to that point. But I always tell people, when you're being vulnerable, that's when you're at your strongest moments, because why the hell do you need to be weak type of thing?
Yeah. We still struggle with PTSD right now. Like, right now. That's why we, a lot of the excuses and the systematic racism when these non-African Americans do monstrous things in the community, we look at it like, what? You know how the media play it, like, oh, he was suffering. Like, bro, I done been through worse than that. And if we talking about
exactly,
like, oh, he suffered from PTSD. What?
That is normal. That's my life. That is my life.
Like, please, if this is what we doing, then I should have been lost my mind. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about at an early age. They talking about recent stuff. Like, bro,
it's because it's fitting.
It's fitting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because it's fitting. Man. Shit, we spoke about a lot, man. Let me go ahead into this comments real quick. Gerald, man, what's going on, man?
That's Jay Horn?
Nah, Gerald. He's a homeboy, from school.
Okay.
One of my closest homeboys from school back in Atlanta, man. Thank you, man, Gerald, for tuning in. He was like cocky and confident, two different. I think he was speaking about how confident I am.
Okay. Oh, can I give a shout out real quick?
Go ahead.
First, if anybody wants to follow me, my Instagram is PreachKeela2G. My Facebook is Akila Roten Jr. My Snapchat is AkilaRex15, I think. I don't know. I'm still learning all these different things. But man, I want to also give a shout out to my sister. Her birthday was yesterday, and she's a 2-year kidney survivor. She lost both of her kidneys failed 2 years ago.
Whoa.
So shout out to my sister Yanni Davis. She just received her kidney.
How old is she?
She's 30. She just turned 32.
Wow.
31 or 32 yesterday. And she battled with kidney depression. And for 2 years she was in dialysis. 2 years she was going through. In those 2 years she got her master's. She never gave up, and she just received her kidney in the end of October. So I want to give a shout out to Yanni, who is
big shouts out to her, yo.
She shout out to Yanni. My pastor's birthday is tomorrow. Shout out to Pastor Penn. All my kids, everybody, kids, I love them. Jaden, Jeremiah, Kyrie, Kyra, and Namar. I got kids, y'all. Please pray for me. Shout out to them. And to anybody that's listening, man. I thank you guys for the support. And shout out to you, Will, man.
Thank you.
Bro, what you doing right here? I feel like I'm at the Breakfast Club. Like this is what I live for every morning. Like, man, we got to get more people in here. Man, I want to come back,
Thank
you.
you.
But shout out to everybody, man. And I want to say this as a disclaimer. To all my believers in Christ, the people who walk the same faith walk as me, it is okay if you need help.
Oh yeah.
You can't shout it out. You can't pray it out. It is okay. And
Perfectly
I'm saying that. And I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that. But it is okay to get some help, man. That's all I wanted to say.
Young voices making choices. Speak. Minister Akila is sharing your testimony. Sharing your testimony will save someone else. You're touching, on crucial topics. Definitely true, man.
Rhonda, I see you. Thank you, sis.
My man Didier said, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees. Pharisees, are official interpreters of the law of Moses 3. So I think you just said a whole little passage. Oh, Matthew 23, 2 and 4.
Okay.
That's what he was going through.
Matthew 23.
Calvin, what about the fact that so much is available to our communities, yet we as black folks, don't take advantage of them?
Now that is a good...
What about the fact that there's so many available to our community, but we as black folks don't, take advantage of them? That's a very deep and a very
ego. We said it earlier.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a very impregnated question, and the answer to it is a lot. But to dial it down, it's ego. Because a lot of the times we know, and I tell my patients all the time, like, what you need help for.
Sir.
You know what you do. You know what you need to do to go get the help. The thing is, we're afraid to go get that help because we don't want to be vulnerable. We choose not to go get that help because we don't want to be vulnerable. Same with the churches. A lot of the churches know I need to have this certain program at my church, and I may have the funds to do it at my church, but I just don't do it. Why? Because it doesn't fit. They think it doesn't fit with the mission or what we're trying to accomplish here at the moment. So the stuff is there, but a lot of the reasons why we just don't go out to do it, to kind of break it down, is ego and pride. And it gets deeper than that. And that, but
I think, and spiritually, I think my generation, or the millennial generation, ego is our biggest issue. Everybody wants to have these selfish moments. Like, everybody wants to just do their own thing. It's I, me. I'm living my best life, but I feel like you're not really living if you're not helping nobody. You get what I'm saying? Like, I can't. If
I'm lying my best life.
You hear me? Like, if I hit the lotto tomorrow, I don't even know what I'm gonna do with all. I'm gonna spend some of it, but I'm like, well, then how am I help my boys out? Like, I'm trying to invest, and no, everybody wants to be in competition. I don't even think it's a crab in the barrel no more. We can move that analogy out. Let's just say we don't care about each other no more. We miss that, and so now we have this ego to where I don't need them. When back in the day, you got whooped from the uncle to the auntie house. If we all lived on the same block, you got a whooping all the way home. Now we can't even let our kids go certain places because people feel like they can't trust. And I'm not saying things don't happen. Things do happen, but that culture of family, and now I don't even blame it on racism no more. I blame it on you need to reevaluate and check yourself.
A lot of things starts with self.
Yes, sir.
Facts.
My dad, shout out to my dad, Akila O'Neal Roten Sr. He has been telling me these things. He's always say, Keela, you look in the mirror. Keela, you take care of Keela, because I can't take care of my 5 children. I can't take care of a woman. I can't take care of these things until I take care of myself.
Exactly.
I have to look in the mirror. It's this my favorite commercial, and I'm gonna use it in a sermon one day. I don't know. You remember when AI? He was sitting on the doctor's bench, and he had the earphones in. He was getting ready for the game, and then all his injuries just started popping up, and then it was like a spider web of injuries. And he looked in the mirror, and he's like, "It's time to go to work." So all these different things happening. I'm gonna look in the mirror, and I'm gonna look at them. I'm gonna accept them, but I'm gonna keep pushing forward. I'm gonna keep going forward. I have to do the work for it, and that inspires me, because I feel like we have to really reevaluate us, because I can't help you, Willis, if I don't help Akila. You get what I'm saying? I know we want to, and we have good intentions, but if I don't take the necessary steps to be a better father, to learn emotional conversation with my sons, and knowing how not have to have double standards with my daughters and things like that, that starts with me, though.
First.
Before I even teach them, I need to get implemented in my mind.
Yourself right.
You know what I'm saying? I can't even parent the correct way.
You can't fix something that if you don't know it's broken in the first place, man. Young voices are making. He also said truths being spoken. People forget faith is an action word. Corey Drop King. People forget faith is an action word. Yes, that definitely is true. Faith is an action word, right? You have to.
Like love is. Love is an action word.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we throw those two words around too loosely. I have faith in this because it sounds good and it's going to appease someone else, but do you really have faith in it by the things that you're actually doing? Does it show?
Yeah.
We can say a lot of things, but does it really show? Tim White, Pastor Fred Price just finished a series in mental health, and he's proudly admitted that he goes to counseling.
Shout out to Tim, bro. I hear you, man. That's my boy.
Mm-hmm. Counseling is very, very good.
I'm telling you.
Chantel Jarrett. So how do we entice more millennials into the church to get these mental support services?
You want me to go?
Because there's two parts to that question. Introducing mental services into the church, and then introducing millennials, into the church. I could say this: a lot of my peers, millennials in general, I ain't gonna say millennials in general, but a lot of my peers that I know don't go to church, right? Because we understand that church is just not this building. Church is within you. Mm-hmm. So you can go to church wherever the hell you want to go to. Mm-hmm. So it's more so about, one, assisting the millennials in understanding, yes, the church is very, very important because of the historical context the church has within the black community. Yeah. That's the first thing. And then now when we're implementing these mental health services, it takes you as a person to understand that, you do need to seek mental health yourself,
It was a woman who asked that question?
Yes, Chantel Jarrett.
Okay, my personal belief is that, like I said, if the church gets back to community before we just trying to push Jesus down your throat, let them see the God inside of you. My job is not to convert you. My job is to help you. You gonna want to do that on your own, but that's a faith thing. That's a spirit thing. All we got to do is, like you said, create the conversation and create the avenue. Like, don't invite them to come get counseling, and we be at their doors like the Jehovah's Witness. Boom, boom, boom. Come to church. No, thank you for coming.
Don't force it upon me.
Whatever the church can do. Like, I know when I pass out food, and I'm like, hey, come by. We here at 10 a.m. But if not, here you go. You get what I'm saying? I'm not trying to push down, but with millennials, we have to be very strategic because we are the most educated. We got the internet. And you get what I'm saying? We're not about to just come because you waving something in our hands. But I think we need to create a conversation and say, what are we dealing with? Yeah. Now, are we really creating avenues to teach our young people not to get in debt in college? You hear me? Like, now, what's something that's going to attract their mind? Are we being a statement for, like, whatever political issues going to put, because millennials are paying attention to that. You can say what you want to say about us, how we was raised. Sometimes we get angry, sometimes we riot, but you guys need us for your church to still at the end of the day. Because if your church got 40, 50 members and 35 of them are 70 plus, what's gonna happen? You get what I'm saying?
Facts.
But then I don't want to. My thing is, I'm not here to try to change you, Willis. That's not my job. Like, I was in here listening and you being you. Most preachers probably would have been like, he cussing too much. And I'm like, hey, be being Willis.
That's just who I am.
That's just who you are. Now, of course, when you come to the house of the Lord, I'm like, hold on, Willis. Hold on, bro. Hold on. But I'm in your domain. Yeah. And so now I feel like I'm being more of a light than anything, because now I could be at a service right now screaming and hollering and doing all of the same routine of things. But I made an issue to come out because I know this is very prevalent. This is very serious. And I want more millennials, and all the millennials that's listening, I want you to understand that there are still some young Christians who you don't have to be afraid of, cautious of. Like, I'm not naive to what's going on. Yeah. You hear me? I'm not, like, oblivious.
At all.
Because I used to struggle, like, talking to other young preachers, like, bro, what? Like, what are we? Like, bro, I got child support. Like, are you understanding what I'm going through right now? But he laughing in the background.
That's the truth.
But I realized I had to go through all this because when I meet other millennials, like, I'm giving lawyer advice.
You're going to know how to relate, man. You're definitely going to know how to relate. So, that's a lot. So, the question I have for everybody is, I think I kind of briefly skated over it, and this was, it popped up in my head when I briefly skated over it, but how can we align, our spiritual being with our mental well-being, right? How can we align those two? Because we look at those two as two separate things, even when I say those are two separate things, but I believe those are one and the same. They affect each other, just as our mental well-being could affect our physical well-being. How? So when it comes to you, Keela, answering this question, what would be your, answer for it real quick?
Real quick, I believe how can we align both is after we get the necessary information for both. I do believe that we don't need to be ignorant in either one. The only way you're going to be able to parallel both is if you have this consistent information for both. And so if I have this mental stuff and I got all the information back in that, now where does my spiritual application take in for that? Or if I'm spiritually applicating it, but then I don't tackle my mental, so I have to be able to fuse the two to tackle the problem. And so for me personally, I didn't just go to any therapist. I went to a Christian therapist. You hear what I'm saying?
How can it relate?
Because that's what I thought. Okay, maybe I can relate and I got both tools. You get what I'm saying? He gave me a spiritual application because our spirits. He was able to talk to me, knowing that I was a preacher, knowing these things. He was able to give me a spiritual application. But he's a licensed therapist through the state of California. But then he brought in the mental. So we merge everything together. So I believe if you tackle both sides, get information from both sides, some way somehow is going to segue into becoming one line. That's my advice.
Man, thank you, man. Thank you for coming, man.
Oh, it's all good. Man, I can't wait to come back.
It. Oh yeah, you will. Definitely will, man. Definitely will.
We come back Black History Month. Come back Black History Month. That's when we gonna get on.
Real talk, man. Thank you, Didier, for listening. Keith, thank you. My main man, Gerald Coleman III. Thank you, my man, for listening. Young voices making choices. I believe you know who they are,
yes.
right?
Hey, Rhonda.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you for listening. I appreciate
Aspen,
you.
how you doing, love?
In. Aspen, all those people. Calvin. Calvin, good looking. Corey, my man, good looking. Tim, thank you. Appreciate it. And Chantel, thank you. Appreciate it. The last thing Calvin said was the leader in each field must come together to strengthen and strategize, implementations of, into and action. Definitely and true, man. As always, man, thank you for everybody that tuned in the beginning. Thank you for everybody that tuned in the middle of it. Thank you for those folks who haven't tuned in again. Who haven't tuned in yet because they haven't caught on yet, man. As always, man, this is Willis Cooks. Chill well. Thank you, Akila, for coming through, man. I
God bless you, man.
thoroughly appreciate it, man. Never forget, ain't no wealth without your mental health, man. Please be great and take care of yourself. Be great, y'all.
Y'all be blessed. God bless y'all.
Yes.